Got some big news to share with you. Looks like Social Security beneficiaries could receive a potential $600 increase. I'll let you know why and when and how that all works. Now, this all depends on what's going on with the debt ceiling meetings because it was supposed to happen this previous Friday. That got postponed. It's almost been a week since President Biden and Kevin McCarthy have met. We don't know when they're going to meet again, but with the debt ceiling not decided and the deadline only about 2 weeks away, June 1st, looks like there are a lot of big consequences. Social Security could be delayed, Medicare could be delayed, federal salaries could be delayed, military salaries could be delayed. So this could be a disaster as it's never happened in American history before. So I'll let you know what's going on with the meetings. Also, I'll give you the Republican perspective on where they stand with the debt ceiling and how they could get this done. And I'll give you some other important updates as well. As top lawmakers and the president are trying to figure out what to do with this debt ceiling before we go into default and create a crisis that America has never seen before, Americans are just sitting around waiting to see what is going to happen. So, debt ceiling meeting between Biden and congressional leaders postponed until next week. So they were supposed to meet on Friday. Now, this wasn't just supposed to be President Biden and Kevin McCarthy. It was supposed to be the big four. So it was supposed to be Kevin McCarthy, Hakeem Jeffries, Chuck Schumer, and Mitch McConnell all to sit down together on Friday. Now, that didn't happen. Does this mean that we are going to default on our debt ceiling limit by June 1st? We're not sure. We don't even know when the next meeting is. So unless they decided to do something behind closed doors, have some private calls, but in terms of the American public, we're just kind of left in the dark. Everything is out of our control, and we're told that we could have the worst economic crisis ever in American history, and we have no idea what's going on. So kind of messed up that the politicians are doing that. Now, when it comes to consequences, if this does not happen, there are some really big consequences. So Social Security, Medicare, federal salaries, what payments may be delayed in debt ceiling standoff. So the U.S. hit its debt ceiling or debt limit in January. The nation may run out of money to pay bills as soon as June 1st, the so-called X date. The government wouldn't be able to pay everyone on time. It would likely prioritize payments to investors holding U.S. Treasury bonds to avoid a technical default. Payments like Social Security, Medicare, tax refunds, military salaries, and others would likely be delayed. Democrats and Republicans haven't yet reached an agreement to raise or suspend the debt ceiling and avoid that outcome. So we're told that we're going to have the worst consequences ever in American history. So Social Security, Medicare, tax refunds, military paychecks, and others may be delayed. So kind of messed up. As an illustration, the U.S. has just 80 or 90 cents for every dollar it owes. It will be forced to defer certain payments. Someone is getting shortchanged, and probably looks like Social Security and Medicare are always listed first in terms of getting shortchanged. So there are many unknowns, the length of any delay, or if government would prioritize certain payments. For example, the U.S. has never been in this situation, and the government hasn't issued a public roadmap outlining its response, meaning there's a certain amount of guesswork involved. We're looking at some sort of contagion effect. Basically, the degree of contagion is unknown. So it's basically uncharted territory in terms of going into default and not being able to pay its bills, especially to our most vulnerable people in our society, Social Security, Medicare, and probably the most important, or I wouldn't say most important, but very important, the military. If the military isn't being paid, then America doesn't have any protection. So yeah, looks like things are getting really bad. June 1st is that deadline. Now, when it comes to an increase for Social Security beneficiaries, looks like Social Security cost of living adjustment could be 3.1% for 2024, according to early estimates. So Social Security beneficiaries saw the biggest cost of living adjustment in 40 years in 2023, but as inflation subsides, next year's benefit increase may not be as generous, a new estimate finds. So Social Security cost of living adjustment for 2024 could be 3.1%, according to a new estimate from the Senior Citizens League. That's well below the 8.7% increase beneficiaries saw this year, which was the highest bump in 4 decades. So that 3.1% increase comes out to about $600 on average, depending on everyone's personal payment that they're getting from Social Security. So would that help you? Obviously, it's no 8.7%, but would 3.1% of for a cost of living actually help you? Let me know down in the comments below. There are a few other proposals for Social Security increases in Congress, but at the moment, it seems like everything is idle until this debt ceiling gets all fixed. So it seems like everyone's focus is on figuring out the debt ceiling and not having America go into default. So to give you the Republican perspective on Social Security as well as the debt ceiling, take a look at this.
The question is, McCarthy's pretty much put his cards on the table. We know exactly what he's proposed. We know what his party wants here. What compromise, if any, do you think the White House is willing to make around that bill that passed the House?
I don't know, but there's some things that are just low-hanging fruit.
It's low-hanging fruit, and I know that you're not directly involved in it as a senator, but at some point, if there is a failure for the Biden administration and the House to come to an agreement, at some point this becomes a problem for everyone.
I agree with that totally. But could you imagine the president coming back and saying, I don't know this, I'm just making up numbers? Part of what the House Republicans propose is for the president to cease his student loan pause and other student loan policies. Every month that the student loan pause continues is $5 billion more against our borrowing authority. Now, by the way, there's already programs. If you lose your job, you can't pay back your loan. There's already programs that take care of you. What the president is proposing, according to CBO, will cost $500 billion, almost. $500 billion. Now, is it reasonable for House Republicans to say we already have programs that take care of people who lose their job? Do we really need to spend $500 billion on this? I think it's reasonable. Could the president say, okay, I'll give you on that, but I want a little bit more over here? That's how negotiations take place.
I am curious as to what you're hearing from your constituents, meaning how much does this issue resonate with regular people? I mean, we talk about it on the high level. It's easier for us to kind of look at it from the way we look at it. But are people on the ground, are they really looking at this and saying this is an issue that matters to us, this is something we're going to vote on in the next election?
What really resonates is the inflation that's just eating away at their paycheck, which they understand is related to out-of-control spending. What really eats at them is what they perceive as out-of-control spending. And it really eats with them the unfairness of the student loan policy. There's a few people who like it. Most people are saying, I pay back my loans. I never went to college.
It does depend on generations. I want to go back for a moment here to what you're hearing as well. Janet Yellen has said that the global financial system faces chaos, her words, unless Congress acts pretty soon. What kind of market instability do you think is needed in order to push forward a resolution, whether it's this month, whether it's June 1st?
I will say it takes a president to engage. Of course, it's Yellen's responsibility to go out there and project that upon Congress. And Congress would say, we've given them a bill. We've begun the negotiations. And the president finally is getting around to meeting with everybody. The president needs to show leadership, not just say, I want it exactly the way I want it, and I won't talk to you otherwise.
I am curious.
That's not leadership.
But some of the stuff that's on the table, I mean, with student loans, but it's also, we get into sort of the entitlement programs and everything else. There's a lot here that either people are trying to cut or think should at least be part of that conversation. And I'm curious as to, beyond just student loans, what else are you looking to maybe trim that would actually get us to whatever that fiscal agreement is going to be?
Well, first, I think, this is what I'm reading from the Senate, from the House Republicans.
Okay.
So I can't represent anybody but what
I understand, yeah.
That said, I actually think work requirements for able-bodied adults who do not have dependents is a pretty good thing. Because if you look at it, somebody's paying for that Medicaid. It is a taxpayer, and she's getting out there and she's working hard, but paying for someone else who chooses not to work. We have unemployment so low that if you wish to have a job, you can. And may I point out, statistically, working is good for you. statistically you stay out of trouble and have a healthier life if you work.
Right. But there are a lot of people on these programs that are out of work, not necessarily by choice. And given economic conditions, there'll probably be a lot more people
well,
out
if
of
you
work,
look at
not
the
by
latest
choice.
employment numbers, I mean, unemployment's at its lowest. And so again, it's not for everybody if you're disabled, but it's for the able-bodied, no dependents person who is single, should there be a work requirement.
Yeah.
I actually think that is a reasonable thing.
One thing that comes up in these debt negotiations and anything on government spending is that there are certain things that are sacred cows that both sides have agreed just can't be touched, whether it's Medicaid, whether it's Social Security. And I know that you've been working with a bipartisan group of senators to shore up Social Security. Is there anything in that that could be pushed forward in some kind of debt agreement negotiations with the White House right now?
Scarlett, be still my heart. But first let me say that what we're working on in Social Security cannot impact the debt ceiling agreement because nothing changes in the first 10 years. And for folks who don't know, the program goes insolvent in 8 or 9 years. When it goes insolvent, everybody gets a 24% cut who's on social. Poverty among the elderly doubles. And so far, both Biden and Trump are pretending there's no problem. Now, I would say it's going to help our long-term indebtedness to help this. And it's going back to the social needs of the people dependent upon these programs. If Biden really cared about their social needs, he'd be doing something to make sure that there was not a doubling of poverty among the elderly when the program goes insolvent.
What are your thoughts there? Do you agree, disagree? Let me know down in the comments below. And that is all the news that I have for you today to hopefully brighten your day a bit. Here's my daughter Bella's tip of the day.
Hey guys, this is the tip of the day. Hi guys, this is Belle. This is the tip of the day. I want to tell you the one thing that you should do. When you do something, and you don't learn, you will be a better person. If you learn, then you'll grow up and be more better at things that you learn. That's all I want to give the explanation to you. Guys, see you in the next tip of the day, and be safe. See you in the next tip of the day.
Thank you so much for watching. Appreciate all of your support. We're winding down the school year now. Bella only has, I think, 2 more weeks left of school, and then it is summertime. Then, yeah, we're going to do a bunch of fun stuff. I'll keep you updated on that. Hopefully you have a great rest of your day. If you want to check out any of my other videos, click right up here, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, be safe. Thank you for watching.